My name is Sarah, and I have a chilling tale to share, one that haunts me to this very day. It all began when I inherited Hollow Manor, an old, decrepit mansion that had been in my family for generations. Little did I know, I was about to unearth a dark and sinister secret hidden within its walls. As I first stepped into the mansion, a shiver ran down my spine. The air was heavy with a musty, ancient smell, and the dimly lit hallways seemed to stretch on forever. I brushed it off as mere nerves, attributing the eerie atmosphere to the age of the house. The first few weeks were relatively uneventful. I started to settle in, slowly unpacking boxes and exploring the sprawling estate. But then strange things began to happen. Late at night, I would hear faint whispers echoing through the empty corridors. I thought it was my imagination playing tricks on me, but the voices grew louder, more insistent. One night, I followed the whispers down a narrow hallway, and they led me to a locked door. It was as if an invisible force guided me. Desperate to uncover the source of this paranormal activity, I managed to force the door open. What I found inside would forever change my life. The room was filled with dusty old paintings, each depicting a different member of my family, generations before me. Their eyes seemed to follow me, their expressions twisted with sorrow and despair. In the center of the room, there was a weathered journal, its pages filled with ominous writings and cryptic symbols. I began to piece together the dark history of my ancestors, who had dabbled in forbidden rituals and made unholy pacts with an otherworldly force. As I delved deeper into the journal, the haunting intensified. Every night, I would hear the agonized cries of tortured souls echoing through the mansion. Shadows danced on the walls, and ghostly figures appeared in my peripheral vision. I knew I had to put an end to this malevolent presence, but I was trapped, unable to leave the cursed mansion. One fateful night, the spectral figures materialized in front of me, their hollow eyes fixed on mine. With trembling hands, I recited an incantation I had found in the journal, hoping to break the curse that bound me to Hollow Manor. A deafening scream echoed through the house, and the spirits were banished, disappearing into the darkness. Hollow Manor was finally silent, and the whispers ceased. I left that cursed place behind, vowing never to return. But even now, I can't escape the memories of the haunting, nor can I forget the feeling that something malevolent still lingers, waiting for its chance to return.
My name is Mark, and the events I'm about to describe still haunt me to this day. It all began one fateful summer when I decided to go camping in the remote Whispering Woods. The forest was notorious in the region for its unsettling name and eerie reputation. Most people avoided it, like the plague, but I had always been drawn to the mysterious and unexplained. Armed with a tent, some supplies, and my curiosity, I set out for the Whispering Woods. The moment I entered the forest, I felt an overwhelming sense of unease. The trees stood tall and imposing, their branches tangled like skeletal fingers against the gray sky. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, and a cold breeze whispered through the leaves like a ghostly sigh. As night fell, I set up camp near a small clearing. The silence was deafening, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Ignoring my unease, I lit a campfire and settled in for the night, hoping to dispel my fears with warmth and light. That's when I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper carried on the wind. It was as if the very trees themselves were speaking. My heart raced as I strained to make out the words. They were unintelligible, yet filled with an undeniable sense of urgency. The whispers continued throughout the night, growing louder and more frantic. Sleep was impossible, and I began to question my decision to camp in this forsaken place. I considered leaving, but an inexplicable force compelled me to stay, to uncover the source of the whispers. Dawn broke, revealing a forest that seemed different from the one I had entered. The trees had twisted and contorted overnight, their bark forming grotesque faces that leered at me. It was as though the forest itself had come alive, a malevolent entity that refused to release its grip on me. With a sense of dread, I followed the whispers deeper into the woods. They led me to a decaying tree, its gnarled roots exposed like skeletal hands. Beneath it, I found a weathered journal, its pages filled with the ramblings of someone who had clearly descended into madness. As I read the journal, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of a curse that bound the Whispering Woods, a curse that demanded a sacrifice to appease the vengeful spirits that dwelled within. I realized with horror that I had unwittingly become a part of this dark ritual. Panicked, I tried to flee, but the forest had other plans. The trees seemed to come alive, their branches entangling me like serpents, pulling me back toward the accursed tree. The whispers reached a deafening crescendo, and I knew I had to act fast. Summoning every ounce of strength, I tore myself free and sprinted through the twisted woods. The whispers pursued me, echoing in my ears, but I refused to listen. Hours later, I emerged from the Whispering Woods, battered and shaken, but alive. I've never returned to those haunted woods, and I pray I never will. The whispers still haunt my dreams, a constant reminder of the malevolent force that dwells within the Whispering Woods, waiting to ensnare anyone who dares to enter its cursed domain.
My name is Michael, and the events I'm about to describe still haunt my nightmares. These events unveil a dark legacy that looms over my family. It all began with a mandatory visit to my grandfather's old mansion. The mansion's roof was on the verge of collapsing, and I needed to organize his belongings. The mansion had been abandoned for years and carried a gloomy history. Its old stone walls held secrets, and I was determined to uncover them. The moment I stepped into the mansion, I felt an unexplainable unease in the air. The interior was dimly lit and shrouded in mystery. Old portraits on the walls depicted family members, but their expressions were chilling. Many of them seemed to hide profound sorrow within their gaze. In my grandfather's room, I found his journals and documents. I began reading his journals and started to unravel the dark secrets of our family's past. I learned that we were once part of a secretive cult that dabbled in forbidden rituals and dark powers. However, the journals revealed that the cult had been cursed through a failed ritual, and malevolent spirits were trapped within the mansion. After this point, strange occurrences began to unfold. At night, I started hearing eerie sounds, and I even glimpsed dark figures moving through well-lit rooms. My dreams were filled with the torments of malevolent spirits, and I found myself sleeping less each night. Within the labyrinthine corridors of the mansion, I began discovering symbols of the old cult. I felt myself descending into madness with each passing day. Many nights, I would wake up in the cursed room, only to witness apparitions manifesting before my eyes. The worst was yet to come, revealed when I read the last pages of my grandfather's journal. It mentioned the necessity of releasing something accidentally cursed by the cult. However, this would also bring harm to the town surrounding the mansion. There was no turning back. I decided to attempt the ritual described in my grandfather's journal to break the curse of the cult. Little did I know, the ritual demanded more power and courage than I had expected. While conducting the ritual, I was attacked by the vengeful spirits, and I hastily drew a protective circle using the cursed symbols in my grandfather's room. Upon completing the ritual, a deafening scream shook the house. The spirits wailed in agony and then disappeared in a blinding flash of light. But this didn't mark the end of the mansion's and my family's dark legacy. From that day on, the mansion turned into an abandoned ghost town, and no one dared to approach it. I left the town, but the events continue to haunt me. I feel that the dark legacy isn't entirely over, and perhaps, one day, it will return.
My name is Emily, and I'm going to tell you about the terrifying events that still haunt me to this day. These events continue to fill my nights with chilling nightmares. It all began with a family vacation at an old mountain house. The house was located near a remote town and had been unused for years. However, my parents were determined to breathe new life into it. My little sister Sarah and I were skeptical, but our family's decision was final. At first glance, the house appeared ordinary, but as soon as we stepped inside, an eerie feeling washed over us. The interior was filled with dusty old furniture and belongings. We didn't want to believe the strange sounds we heard or the mysterious shadows we saw all around. On the first night, I had a disturbing dream. When I woke up, I saw a strange figure in the corner of my bedroom. Terrified, I rushed out of the room and told my family about it. They reassured me that it was just a dream and urged me not to worry. However, the nightmares persisted and grew more elaborate with each passing night. One night, when I went to Sarah's room, I encountered something that still haunts me. Sarah's body had transformed into a zombie-like creature, and it was doing its best to capture me. As sleepless nights continued, strange occurrences started happening around the house. We heard voices speaking from the walls, footsteps and breathing echoing through the hallways, yet we couldn't find anyone. Tensions escalated within our family, and each of us lived in fear, isolated from one another. One night, we discovered a mysterious door in the basement. The door was covered in peculiar symbols and opened on its own. Inside, we were greeted with a chilling sight. The basement had turned into a graveyard, containing the bones of the children of a family that once lived here. This discovery unveiled more horrifying truths about the house's past. We realized that living in this house was no longer an option, and we needed to escape. However, the house wouldn't let us. The walls seemed to close in, and the corridors twisted and elongated. The house felt alive, and it had trapped us inside. Eventually, my family and I became prisoners of this dreadful house. Nightmares, ghosts, and strange sounds had driven us to the brink of madness. One night, deep in the basement, we understood that we had to perform a ritual to release the spirit of the house. But this ritual demanded a great sacrifice. When we completed the ritual, the house trembled with a deafening scream and then fell silent. The ghosts and nightmares had ended, but an unsettling feeling lingered about the house. This time, the house allowed us to leave, and we took the opportunity. Now, I live far away from that terrifying house, but the memories of what we experienced still haunt me. The dark secrets and nightmares from that house left me with an unforgettable reality. And perhaps one day they may return